Just days into President Trump's 50-day peace deal deadline, Russia issuing threats over America's support for Ukraine. The deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council saying, quote, "The statements of Western politicians on this topic are complete nonsense. We need to act accordingly to respond in full and, if necessary, launch preemptive strikes."
Meanwhile, top NATO leaders are working hard to get U.S. Patriot missiles to Ukraine.
Preparations are underway. We're working very closely with the Germans on the Patriot transfer, and the guidance that I've been given has been to move out as quickly as possible. Air defense is important on the modern battlefield, and we've seen the scale of recent Russian attacks against Ukraine, so it is a key focus area.
Here with more is U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Matt Whitaker. Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us. So that comment about a potential preemptive strike by Russia into the West was by Dmitry Medvedev. How seriously is NATO taking something like that?
Yeah. Well, obviously, we take every threat seriously. NATO was built to deter and defend, especially against Russia. So, this is not surprising. But at the same time, I think this kind of reckless, threatening and even trying to suggest that nuclear weapons are an option, I think is, a very dangerous escalation. But, we're obviously prepared for any threat to the alliance, and we'll, make sure that we are always ready for any threat to the alliance.
Ambassador, I know you can't go into specifics, but since Trump announced the 50-day negotiation window, has Russia shown any willingness to negotiate at all? And do you think the transfer of these Patriot missiles will ultimately force Putin to the table?
Well, first of all, obviously, Ukraine needs to defend itself, and that's what President Trump has been clear about. Whether or not Vladimir Putin comes to the table and agrees to a ceasefire and ultimately negotiates an enduring peace in Ukraine, that's up to him. It's very clear that President Zelensky is ready to make a deal and has expressed that. But at the same time, we are providing the weapons necessary. Ukraine has identified Patriot systems and air defense as the most important thing on their list. And so obviously you heard General Grinkowicz, he's moving out on that. And there's a lot of other things that we're moving out on as well. And I think President Trump has created an urgency that we're all trying to meet right now here in Brussels and really across NATO and across the U.S. military.
Yeah, you are coordinating this effort to get these Patriot missiles to Ukraine. So where are we on that? Are there any challenges in getting these missile systems to Ukraine? And what about the backfill?
Yeah, well, obviously, we're working very closely with our allies and with, the industry in the United States that manufactures these systems. They're a high demand, low availability weapon system. But there's so many other things in addition to the Patriots. That's just, number one on the list, especially as you're seeing record attacks overnight in many nights in Ukraine and on the battlefield. But, I want to be clear, Carly, that, since day one, President Trump has been very clear that we need peace, that this senseless killing must stop, that there's no military solution to this war. And at the same time, President Trump has also said that the days of the U.S. sending unlimited taxpayer dollars to defend Ukraine are over. And that's why this smart decision by President Trump and an agreement with NATO, where our NATO European allies together with Canada are paying for these weapons, I think it's just a natural extension of what we saw at The Hague in our summit last month, where these weapons are manufactured in the U.S. by American workers. They're the best in the world. And so this transition that we've talked about before of Europe taking over its own defense and paying for it is America First foreign policy at work.
Yeah. Peace through strength, made in America, paid for by Europe. I don't know if that fits on a red hat, but if it does, maybe the Trump administration
sounds good, though,
should get
doesn't it?
going on it. Yeah. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us.
Ambassador.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.